Good evening, or whatever time of day it is if you're watching this as a video, and welcome to the Medium channel where we bring you the spirituality behind the message. Now, for some reason, the light on my microphone's off, so just want to double check. Yeah, let me put my glasses on and make sure people are actually hearing me. That would be a good thing. Hopefully, that's true. So, we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. What we're going to do today is talk about um, briefly what's going on in the world. We're going to touch upon the full moon that's coming, the powerful full moon on the 18th, or if you're on the West Coast, it's actually on the 17th, Thursday night, or on the East Coast or in Europe, and I think also in Central Time, it's the 18th, and then the equinox and the significance of that. And we're going to give you 5 things that you need to know right about now. Well, more than 5 things, but 5 things you need to know about this coming full moon and everything, and this equinox, and give you a few exercises or things that we can work with. So let me just say hi. So hi from Australia. What time is it now in Australia? Like it must be Wednesday morning, right? Heard new variant talk lately. Sure. Well, I'm going to touch on that a little bit. So hi Sharita, I'm glad that you're in. Hi Sarah. Hi Susie. Hi Susan. Hi Jeanette. And whoever else I missed, thanks for being here and welcome. So this is a I'm going to do a lot of live streams the next couple of weeks. This is a really pivotal time, and I have everything written down somewhere. So for live streams, Friday night on the 18th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to do an archangel transmission and a DNA activation for the full moon. On the 20th, we're going to do mediumship. So I do mediumship about 8 times a year on the channel. It's all free, by the way. So stop in, you might get a message. That's March the 20th, 7 p.m. Then March 21st, also 7 p.m. Our brilliant astrologer and numerologist, Sharita Starr, who's on the live stream with us today, is going to share with us her perspective from numerology and astrology for what to expect this spring. And then on Wednesday, March 23rd, we're going to do an activation of the heart center, and then we're going to send light to the collective, to those forces or those powers that are perhaps responsible for a lot of the challenges that are happening. So we do this every week or every 2 weeks, and we're going to keep doing this as long as we need to. So basically here on the Medium channel, we're here to serve the community. And I got the message. It was New Year's Eve on 2019 to start a YouTube channel, and I knew nothing about YouTube, and I had terrible anxiety on camera. Like I basically sucked on camera, and after I was like, "What the freaking heck are you telling me to do? What, start a YouTube channel? Are you kidding me?" They said there'd be a really great need for it moving forward. This was before the COVID and all of that stuff, and now I understand why. So we're here to build community, and we're here to grow and awaken together, basically. So thank you for everybody that's part of this group. Thank you for being on this channel, subscribing, and being here. So first thing, I'm going to be drinking a lot of water too. I might as well just leave these glasses on. Because I just don't want to miss a thing, and I want to do this concisely as possible. So I've got a lot of things written down on notes. So firstly, I wanted to talk about is the bigger picture. And before I even get into this, I'm going to talk briefly about the problems that we're facing, what's going on or whatever. Now, mind you, current events, meeting out the facts from the fiction and all that stuff. That's really not my forte, and I rely on channels like what's his name, Russell Brand and Awaken and or not Awaken, Inspire, the Inspire channel, and a few others, because I trust them to give me information that's factual and non-biased. Because there's a bias in the mainstream news, obviously, but there's also biases in some of the conspiracy stuff that you hear also. And we have to understand anything that has a fear-based agenda or anything that seems to have a part to it that's dividing, that's creating conflict amongst different people. it's probably coming from the source of the programming rather than the ones that want to help us work through it and fix it. So just kind of keep that in mind. So firstly, I am not in any way, shape, or form diminishing the pain, the suffering, and everything that's going on in the world. I have to say this because what I'm about to say may sound like I'm being, trite about it, and that's absolutely not the case. We are spirits having human experiences. What goes on in the physical, once we get to the realm of spirit, we see it as an illusion, like it never even happened. Now, that said, we're all in human experiences right now, feeling real human emotions, and the bullets are real and they hurt, and everything that's going on is real. But, but, we must understand that no matter what happens here, we're going to be okay. We are spirit having human experiences. And we really have to own that. We really have to remember that. And we have to always, every day connect to spirit and connect to source. And in this physical 3D world that we decided to come into at this time, for whatever reason, whether that is to help and assist humanity through this awakening, is subject to both high and low frequencies. That's the nature of the physical world. It is our classrooms. I don't necessarily buy into the whole thing about this being a prison planet and we're being punished and karma that or the other thing. I believe it's a classroom. I believe it's a process that us as souls, we're all connected. We're all one in soul, even if we're divided and separate in bodies, that we're coming in here for a collective experience. And we learn through the challenges. And again, we're subject to very high frequencies. We're also subject to very low frequencies. And this whole interplay of so-called good and evil and all that stuff is part of our learning and our growth. And this lifetime is a blink of the eye, and we're immortal souls and spirits. So whatever happens here, it's very real to us right now. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a blink of the eye. And I do a lot of mediumship. A lot of you know me as a medium, and I made thousands of connections. And the ones that say that pass from cancer or very painful conditions, their loved ones want to know if they're not in pain anymore. And they come through and say, once I got to the other side, it was like waking up from a dream. It's like it never even happened. I realized that wasn't real. And we have to keep that perspective, yet at the same time be very sensitive and compassionate to those that are being displaced by war and all the other stuff that's going on in the world. Now we're hearing a lot about World War III, but frankly, from where I'm sitting, World War III has been alive and well for a good while now. It just hasn't been fought on the battlefields. It's been fought on the cyber fields. It's been fought behind the scenes with the different governments, the different mandates that have come up, the different laws, objectives, all of that stuff. And now it's starting to show up more in the physical. Now, yeah, not being insensitive, but the question comes up is this really like just something that happened, that built up, or is there a greater force involved? When I say greater force, I'm not talking about spirit. I'm talking about what people might call the elite or the deep state or the cabal. Now, let me move on. So where was I? Yeah, so I just wrote down. We wrote in the physical 3D, and this makes us learn and grow. So I think you understand the gist of that. You stay in our power, stay in our center, stay in our focus, and be there and help. Now, because we need to stay alive, that's the objective. We're not supposed to die, at least most of us aren't. We have to prepare for what's going on in the physical world, obviously. Prepare, stock up. Now, myself and Sharita, in our own ways, have been telling you for quite a while that things are going to get very crazy. In my 2022 psychic predictions, as well as different live streams I've done, I've talked about global conflict. I've talked about food shortages. I've talked about all of this stuff. I've talked about the new variants. I've talked about all the measures. These these are things that have come through to help us to prepare. But now that we're really getting ready for the real showtime, where this is going to either make or break us, but between you and me, it's going to make us understand that we live in a friendly universe. The universe is benevolent and friendly and wants to support us in experiencing love and experiencing joy and having a positive experience while we're here. But there are other forces that are working against that. Again, that's part of the matrix. That's part of why we are here in this simulation. If you believe it's more of a computer thing, or if it's more of a spiritual simulation, we're here to learn and grow as souls and spirits having a human experience. So, stock up on food, stock up on essentials. The idea is to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. There are no predictions that will absolutely come true. So understand that it's a fluid situation. It's all consciousness. Predictions, prophecies are all based upon energy in the present, energy in the past, and how that's likely to play out in the future. If we change our energy in the present, that means that we become present. When we're present, we're not in the past, we're not in our past emotions and bringing that into the present through our reaction to the environment. And therefore, we're not creating those same outcomes in the future. So rather, when we get present in the moment, then we can get fluid and we can start to create collectively a new reality. We don't have to go through a lot of crap. It starts with the individual, and one person's not going to move the needle on the collective, but hundreds of thousands or millions can. And the idea is like Peter Gabriel's song Biko, those lyrics, you can blow out a candle, but you can't blow out a fire. Once the flame begins to catch, the wind will blow it higher. That's how consciousness works. Once enough people understand and are willing to change their patterns, become more spiritual, and share that with others, it's like a small fire that becomes a big bonfire. And then we reach that 100th monkey, and then change starts to happen. That's when we get through all the war, all the famine, the diseases, and all this negative stuff. And then we come into the positive. So consider we have a very complex global structure that's going on. Nobody knows exactly what's happening, and that there's significant evidence to support some form of conspiracy, some form of agenda, some sort of measures. There's significant evidence to support that the countries and who's good and who's evil, that those lines are very blurry. And chances are that there's a little bit of yin in the yang, just like the yin yang symbol. So I don't believe that any of these ideologies, any of these forces are purely good or purely evil, but it is what it is. So just consider that everything that's going on, including the war, including the death and dying, including the changes in money and the whole financial structure. Again, there's something, again, Sharita and myself both said, watch your money. It's going to change. The whole financial structure is changing. The dollar, that's technically not on any standard, but it pretty much adheres to the petrodollar. Um, it there's to make a long story short, they can print as much money as they freaking want without any golden Fort Knox um to validate the value, without the oil, without any of that stuff, and that creates inflation. So anyway, moving right along, and we're trying not to make this too long, but while you were distracted, how many have heard things from the freedom truckers? They're still out there, but we haven't heard anything about that. Um, there's reasons for that. And part of the reason is that the messages was being heard. We have the right to choice. We have to be considerate to what's going on in the world, but we have the right to choice. So we really no word about that. Um, but behind the scenes, the WHO, the WEC, other organizations that are not elected officials, mind you, they're appointed, have been hard at work on what the post-pandemic world is going to look like. Once COVID becomes declared an endemic. Now, I predicted that around June. Now, I did a lot of predictions. They're not always going to happen exactly when I say, again, it's all fluid, it's all changing. But in any event, whenever that happens, what's going to be next? Now they're preparing different ways of having vaccine passports that could limit your ability to travel to other countries, to even go into your local bar. And they're also working on something, I think it's called the metaverse, which is basically going to replace the internet. However, there's going to be codes. It's not going to be all exclusive. It's going to be very inclusive. And they'll probably use the excuse, well, there's so many scammers and hackers, we have to do it this way. But the idea, and I saw this, I think it was on Russell Brand's channel, but it may have been on somebody else, about some of the things that were coming up in the news about creating this new normal and having everything very mechanized and having vaccine passports digitalized. So it's a digital world that we're coming into. And one of the proposals, or one of the things that are coming up, is actually having implants. Where did we hear about the mark of the beast on the wrists and the forehead? All this is potentially coming true. And however this happens, everything's on a database. Everything about you is going to be on a more detailed and advanced database than it already is. And then they're talking about this being the new normal. Now, we have to understand that we're all programmed, and language is a very strong programming tool. Like if I say the word zebra, what comes into your mind? Probably an animal with white and black stripes, maybe one that's well hung if it's a male. Okay, I know where my mind is, in the gutter, um, but the thing is that's mental programming, learning. It's like when we hear the word zebra, we associate the animal. Now, if for the next 2 years everybody told us, and we saw pictures on TV, that no, zebras are not white or black, they're really orange. In about 2 or 3 years, when you heard the word zebra, you'd see an orange animal. That's how programming works. And the forces that be, the ones that control the money, control the power, control everything, and control these organizations. By the way, the WHO, WEC, I forgot the CDC. All these are appointed officials. There's no democratic process involved here. They make the directives. They don't call them laws. They call them directives. There's 4 times, I believe, as many directives as there are laws. Nobody's voting on it. There's no democratic policy with that. These are laws that will be enacted unless we raise our consciousness. So getting back to the whole thing with the zebras and the programming, when you hear the word normal, you get, because our minds are very much geared towards survival, the word normal makes us relax, right? It's like, something's normal. Our subconscious mind likes normal because then we feel relaxed. We feel like we will survive. When we start to call things out of the ordinary, then the survival instinct clicks in, and then we question things and we get scared. So when they start to say the new normal, they are programming us to accept what they want to give us, which is basically going to take more of our rights, more of our sovereignty, and add further control and institute a world governing body. And on one hand, that would be lovely, if this was more about unity. But, in this case, those people, whether they're the 5 families or whoever, or they're extraterrestrial intelligences or whatever it is, those that have all the money, that control the governments, that control the corporations, and control the flow of oil and food on the world, are going to be controlling all the governments. I mean, what could go wrong? Anyways, let's go to the next topic. You get the idea. And the way to resist the programming is learning how to be present and learning how to be in your own power. So we've got a powerful full moon coming up. I think it's the last in the series of the March of the 27 degrees full moon. This one in Virgo at 27 degrees. That's a 9 in numerology. That's completion. the sun's in Pisces. That's the sign of completions. Numerologically, we're in a number 9 month also. That's about completions. The idea for the full moon, this full moon, is completing. It's going into the subconscious and clearing the programs, completing this cycle right now. Meditation, reprogramming. Oops, let's go to page 3. So these are, I'm just touching on a few things right now. I mean, all full moons represent high levels of psychic energy. They affect the water on the planet. They affect the tide because they line up with the sun in a certain way and increase the gravitational pull. Whoops, sorry about that. We're glad my camera didn't fall over just now. We're you have 70% water. So all full moons affect us in that way. But when you take, the sign of Pisces, which is about the subconscious, it's Neptune rule and all that stuff, and stuff like that. It really focuses on that area. So the spring equinox is really about awakening. So that's coming on the 20th. And, the equinoxes are the tipping points, the balancing points. So we're going to go from the dark to the light. So the idea of the vernal equinox is that you taking what you learned in the dark season and applying it into action. So on one hand, we have the full moon that's very active, yet it's really working more in the subconscious mind and the intuitive realms. And it's really working in, helping us to release our shadows that have been blocking us. So it's very beneficial for shadow work and stuff like that. You take the spring equinox, it's the first day of Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. And the number 9 is also ruled by Mars. So we're still going to be in our 9 month. So Mars is going to be a really, really big player. And so what we want to do is look what Mars is doing. And Mars is in Aquarius. Aquarius really kind of blows it all up. And it also does it for humanitarian reasons. And that's Aquarius. Did I say Mars? I meant the sign Aquarius if I said Mars. And but Aquarius is also about community. It's about consciousness. And Mars is very much keeping pace with Venus. They've been more or less conjunct the whole month. They're going to start to pull away, after several days. And Venus is the ruler of the sign Virgo, which is where the full moon is happening in the sign Virgo. So this is a real big time for heart expansion because Virgo is Virgo, I'm mistaken. Mercury rules the sign Virgo. Right? Sorry. I can hear Sharita yelling at me at a distance. No. Wrong. But anyways, you get the point. But the good news is everything is direct. So here are the 5 things that we need to know and we need to do during this time, this energetic portal that's opening up with the full moon and the spring equinox. And by the way, that is like the solar new year. Well, actually, the solar new year's on the solstice, but in a way, it's the new year going into the light, and that's where we have Easter. That's like the resurrection, and Easter is the only major lunar-based Christian holiday. So this is about our resurrection. We're coming out of the dark and coming back into the light. We learned a lot. We experienced a lot. We grew a lot. Now we can start to take that out and to share it and to teach and to connect with community. So the number 1 thing that we need to know is graceful completion. This is the time to end things. Do we have bad habits? Do we have bad mental habits, bad physical habits, bad spiritual habits? Double down on completing those now and start to embrace new habits. That is my best advice for that. And part of completion is sometimes we hold on to things or we allow relationships to be compromising or diminishing, or we don't speak up enough, or we have our shadow aspects that make us people pleasers. But whatever it is, this is the time to gracefully complete this cycle and start to embrace a new beginning with love and confidence and joy, not with dread and fear. See, this is what they want us to feel. And yes, there is plenty to fear but your fears of the mind, yeah, we don't need to go there. And again, going back to what I was saying in the beginning, understand that we're immortal beings having very short temporary human experiences, and pain and suffering and all that is very real, but we have to complete some cycle and embrace the light, embrace the love. And the more we can do that, and the more people that do that, the less people are going to suffer and die, and the quicker people are going to get together and start to reform this, what's going on in the world that's absolutely spinning out of control right now. So number two, heart expansion. It's not like I never talked about that before, but with all these aspects, Virgo is Mercury ruled. It's a very healing sign and a very healing energy, and it's a very heart-centered energy. And right after the full moon, by the way, the moon's 3 hours later is going to go right into Libra, and that's the Venus ruled sign that I was talking about earlier. So what Venus and Mars are doing are very important. What we want to do, not just to open, but feel the flow. Learn to feel energy, feel the flow. You do that by getting very present, allowing yourself to feel. Most people do not feel because we felt a lot of pain. Society has programmed us to cut ourselves off from our feeling, which cuts ourselves off from spirit, which makes us very unhealthy, open to disease, all of that stuff. When we start to open up and feel the flow, chi, prana, whatever you want to call it, unless I'm very distracted and I'm not present, there's not a moment that goes by that I don't feel energy flowing through me. But mind you, I've been meditating and doing spiritual work and yoga and martial arts for 40 years now. You don't need to study that long. All you need to do is open up, clear your mind, and just feel what's naturally happening. And one thing that you can start to do, meditate and just take a moment, feel your skin, then feel your heart, then feel your liver, feel your lungs. How often do you take the time to just consciously feel your organs? Every organ, every part of your body has a unique feeling unto itself. So these are the ways to start to open that up. So number three, access the subconscious, do your shadow work. This is a very advantageous time. If you do it right, you might clear 20 or 30 years of negative programming, or I should say, you could get like 20 to 30 years of the equivalent of therapy just by accessing the subconscious. So the equinox balances the light and the dark. It balances the light and the hidden. What does that mean? There's that tipping point where the light and the dark become one. If you can grab that energy in that moment, you can consciously know what's going on in your subconscious. You can consciously know what the programming is. You can be in both worlds at the same time. And then as the sun starts to tip towards the light, you can bring the subconscious into the light, and you can make that your empowerment, not your detriment. You can make it your empowerment. Understand that your shadow aspects are your best teachers in the end, and they will open up new portals of strength and energy that you may have never known even existed. Okay, so number four, own the now. I did this in Sharita's honor, by the way. She's the lexigram queen also. Own and now have the same letters. Own the now. Learn to be the observer. Adam says this all the time. I had other ways of explaining this until I started to listen to Joe Dispenza. He's been kind of my sort of unseen mentor for the last 6 months or so. When you start to observe the programming, you're no longer the program. You are the observer of the program. How does that happen? It happens by getting present. And getting present doesn't mean you're denying your conscious mind or denying your thoughts or your thinking. It means you just step into awareness. And you do that through your breath and through being aware of your body and everything around your body, but focusing on nothing, and then staying in that state of mind until something takes you out of it. Then the next time you think about it, do the same thing. And then after a while, it's going to become a habit. And then after a while, habits become programs. And then lo and behold, you're always present. Even when you're thinking things through with your very limited personal mind, you're still present and still open to spirit during that process. The important thing is learn to be the observer. Meditation teaches us how to be present. When we meditate, we observe our breath, we observe our bodies, we observe our thoughts. At least there's many forms of meditation to do that. Presence is simply taking that meditative state into the world with you. And the number 5 thing that we need to know is to connect with community, share with community. This is the real Aquarius energy that we're in. Even though the sun's already in Pisces, we have Mars is not in Aquarius yet, but it will be, I think. But oh no, Mars is in Aquarius. Excuse me. Anyways, and I think Mercury and Venus are, but it's very Aquarian energy nonetheless. Even if I didn't really check I knew I had enough to talk about. Share with community. This this medium channel is a community, and my intention is to continue to grow, to continue to share, and to continue to be a source of light and guidance during these darker times, I want to say. But the idea is to expand our community and to connect with other communities and create a world community. So those are the 5 things to keep in mind on, and things that we really need to start doing now if you're not doing that already. So I wanted to finish up with a few practices. And this is something from Kundalini Yoga that you're only to do on the full moon. So within 24 hours of the full moon. And I decided to add it. I asked Yogi Bhajan in spirit if it's okay to share this, even though it's a Kundalini Yoga practice. He's kind of like, why not? Sort of the response. So the mantra is, it's kind of almost like a song. It's sa de sa 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 de sa 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 de sa 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 nam. Oh wait, I'm not even remembering the mantra. Hada day, hada day, hada 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 day, hada 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 day, hada 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 ram. But what you're doing, and I need to stand back a little bit, is I'm starting with my hands here, and I'm going sa de sa 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 de sa 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 de sa 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 ram, and then I'm kind of offering my prayers to the universe. And then hada day, for this part, hada day, I point my fingers down, hada day, hada hada, hada day, hada hada, hada day, hada hada, hada rang. And then I bring it back to my navel, and then do the same thing. Sa de sat sat, sa de sat sat, sa de sat sat, sa rang. Start to open up at your heart. It's like a flower unpetaling. Hada day, hada hada, hada day, hada hada, hada day, hada hada, hada rang. Sa de sa sa. You can get this on YouTube. Just look up sa re sa sa. And if I can find a video that I like, I'll attach it to the pinned comment when this becomes a video. To do that for 11 minutes, take a deep breath in, exhale and release. And remember, when you're inhaling, you're pedaling the flower. This is beautiful for the equinox, full moon period. And you're offering your prayers and what you desire in your life and the world around you. Then when you bring it down, you're manifesting that into the world. So that's a practice to do now. Number 2 is double down on heart-brain coherence. And I have videos for that. In fact, I have videos for everything. You want to start to get some shadow work done? We have videos for that in the library to help you along with that also. Heart-brain coherence, I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining it, but what it is, it's learning how to increase the resonance of the heart and bring the heart into coherence and into its proper rhythm, not heartbeat, but its proper energetic rhythms. And by doing so, the brain locks into coherence, into the proper brain wave rhythm. We're bombarded by a lot of fear, a lot of stress, a lot of news. That brings our heart out of coherence. That brings our brain out of coherence because we're in a survival mode. So when they're incoherent, what's happening is we're hypervigilant in what's going on with our bodies and our immediate surroundings because there's a potential threat. The body's gearing up for a potential threat. The art of the warrior is learning how to be in coherence while there's stress around you, while you get called to a fight or flight, or called the fight, or called the battle. That's the art of the warrior. That's where martial arts training or equivalent training is so effective. Learning how to stay in your coherence. So again, I have videos for that, but the idea is you want to feel magnified gratitude, appreciation, and love. And when you start to really open that up in your heart, you start to feel that in your brain and you become coherent with spirit. Also, your crown opens up. Some people even have gamma experiences. It's like a DMT release in the brain, and you see vivid colors and vivid images. That can happen just by doing heart brain coherence, but it probably won't and definitely won't happen every time. But the point being is that we open up more to spirit by doing that. And the universe, this is the master frequency. The heart is gratitude, compassion, love, appreciation, because when we feel grateful, it's because we receive something, and the universe is the ultimate giver. So we energetically match the frequency of the universe by doing this practice. Heart Math Institute recommends 10 minutes at a time, 3 times a day. Like I said, I have videos. Heart Math Institute, Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, and others have videos on how to properly do heart brain coherence. I've been believing for a while this is the most important spiritual practice going forward. Well, one of the most important spiritual practices going forward. Okay, so another thing, I just wrote down breathing exercises, yoga. I have the ascension breathing set. It's very simple, though there's intricacies of the internal movements involved with it. You have to practice it until you start to really feel what this is. But the ascension breathing set that Spirit gave me and that I do every day now actually increases the space between your cells and your atoms and allows more chi to flow through you. What this is going to do, this is going to help to clear energetic toxins and blockages and allow for a higher level of chi to flow. And as we continue to awaken and ascend, the vibrations continue to increase. So it's going to help us to be able to withstand these higher vibrations without obstructions forming in the body and the aura. Very, very important and very simple practice. And I have a video for that also. I'm going to link all the important videos. I've called them the important links. When this becomes a video, it'll be pinned to the comments. The next thing is connect with nature. Nature, you get rid of don't get rid of the cell phones. We need that. I'm being a little bit overzealous, but we need time away from technology. We need the balance. When we're in nature, that's when we start to feel chi. Nature will automatically start to activate our auras and our spirit and uplift our energy and vibration. And the Native Americans, the Native Australians, the natives of every freaking land, virtually on the planet, knew to connect and work with nature. You can feel different energies, and a good practice is just take a walk in nature, but feel your heart open, be in presence, and consciously feel the trees. As you pass by a tree, feel it. What's happening is the energy is starting to come out of the earth. That's what happens in the spring, and the trees start to bring that energy up into its bark, into its branches, and soon forms leaves. That's why the maple sap is starting to run now. We're in that time of the year. Connect with nature. And last thing, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. It's all fluid. We're creating it as we go along. And I made a note to myself to mention my Patreon group. That's my membership program, Spirit Mind Family. And I go on live at least once a month there. And there I can really start to talk about what's really going on. There's things that would probably get this video taken down that are going on. Again, it's all belief based on a lot of evidence. I mean, again, we don't know what's happening, but we can kind of connect the dots and follow the money and follow the corruption and have a pretty darn good idea of what's going on in the world, what the agenda is, and how that's going to really compromise our way of life and our right to freedom and sovereignty. So again, it's all fluid. So the idea is, again, to do your spiritual work, and that's going to help everybody do their spiritual work. And that's going to help to change this trajectory. So again, it's called Spirit Mind Family. We have exclusive videos. It's only $5 a month to join. It's non-committal membership. There are higher tiers also, but to get in on all the live events and most of the material that I share there, it's only $5 a month, and we can discuss openly. Could we do a Q&A? what our views are, what our concerns are. We can connect as an inner community there. So that's spirit, mind, family.